You have clarified all the tasks, and step by step, you're about to reach your goal. Yes, of course. Could you please tell us where is the county of Moyu? This is where we are. This is the county of Moyu. For the whole area is the Oasis of Moyu, which is a total surface of 1.2 million mu of land. And currently, this area has been surrounded by the deserts. As is mentioned before, we have a total surface of 1.2 million mu of oasis, and this oasis of Moyu is situated to the southern fringe of the Taklimakan Desert. And over there, we have another town. We have planted on the spot a lot of date trees. Behind us is a total surface of 38,000 mu of land with the greening project. On the side, we can see we have very strong wings of level 4 strength of the wings. We have the wings coming from the northern area, and here we have planted the trees in order to protect the oasis as well as our county in front of the wings and the storms of sands. We know there are different entrance points of the wings, and at each side of it, we have built up the forests to fight against the winds. We are in collaboration with the meteorological stations. For example, we have calculated the total area to fight against the strong winds. We have one side of the fight against the winds by the mountain. In total, we have 5 sides of it. For example, here is the Yama County. You have already planted trees on a surface of 139,000 mu. People have been fully mobilized to plant the trees. People have contributed to a surface of 75,000 mu of land greened with the date trees and also willow trees. During the plantation, we have also explored a lot of methods to fight against the desertification and also the improvement of revenue for the people. We have selected the date trees, for example, the red dates. We have selected the variety called the #1 date, and also the local fruit trees. And thanks to the plantation of those trees, we could generate extra sources of income for local people. So at the same time, we have ecological benefits as well as economic ones. So by planting the trees, local people can not only fight against the desertification, but also have a better living. We have also planted the herbs and plants for traditional Chinese medicine. That would bring extra sources of revenue for the local people. So we can not only generate ecological and natural benefits from this land, but also create economic effects. We have to combine economic performance as well as ecological protection. That's how we make this greening project more sustainable. So you will also be subsidizing the people for the greening project. Yes, of course. We encourage people to take the action first. We encourage people to take actions and mobilize the whole society to do the greening job. And later on, we will do an evaluation process. If the greening project could reach the qualification ratio of more than 85%, then we will give them subsidies. For example, last year we have issued a subsidy amount of more than 4 million RMB. We have already verified the previous session of the greening project, and very soon we will issue another round of subsidies to the people to thank them for their contribution. And for the next stage of development and for your next stage of fight against desertification, what will be the actions of the Moyu County? Our local government will be even more proactive in this regard. Currently, during our fight against the desertification, we have mobilized 280 million Chinese yuan to do the greening job. And we have used these funds to build up all these installations, equipments, and roads. We have built in total 319 kilometers of roads and built up the grids of electricity with the cables of total length of 212 kilometers. And we have also digged up 311 wells. And during the application of this project, we have clarified the responsibility of each and every person of the villages. And we will divide the tasks into different parts and give each part of the task to every village. What about the next stage of plans? We will continue to use the engineering, waterworks, and photovoltaic technologies to deal with the desertification. We will mobilize the whole society, for example, the local people as well as the local enterprises. We will build up the dates and red willow trees as well as the other fruit plants. By the year 2030, when you complete the whole task of the fight against the desertification, what is your vision for people's future life? By 2030, we will close the task. We will finish the tree planting project, the greening project, on the surface of 1.42 million moons of land. By then, people will have better life, and we can suffer much less from the strong winds and desertification problems. Then people will be more happy about the life. So during this process, we have to deal with the sand problem, and we also have to generate more economic benefits from this project of greening. Currently, as we can see, the Moyu County has already realized the key transition in their actions. We are looking forward to better nature, better ecological environment, as well as better livelihood of local people. Dear viewers, hello to everyone. I'm the journalist now in the Kash area. People say that if you don't come to Xinjiang, then you don't know the beauty of China, and if you don't come to Kashi, you should not say you've ever visited Xinjiang Autonomous Region, because here we have a lot of unique features. I'm now standing in the Taklimakan Desert, the second largest moving desert. And this Taklimakan has been surrounded by two other big deserts. For many years, people living here are fighting against the storms of sand, and they have built up the green Great Wall with the trees. Today, we're about to witness the tree planting activity. We are now in a place located in southern part of Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. It's in the winter season. It's very dry. However, it's still very good time for us to plant the trees. Today, I've also invited two other guests. Together, we're about to witness the greening project here. Welcome to our program today. Please say hi to our viewers. Dear viewers, good day to you. My name is Wang Zhen, the director of the Bureau of the Fight Against Desertification. This is a great expert. My name is Nur Ali Aishan. You're local people to Bachu. You're born here and you grew up here. It's been the sixth day that I'm here. It's very sunny day. We have blue sky, and the desert seemed very mild to me. But I heard that many years ago it's not as mild as it looks now. Yes, indeed, in the past, we have suffered a lot from the storm of sand. For example, if you go to the restaurant, then the whole dining table would be covered by the sand and dust. Today, we have launched the fight against the desertification, thanks to which we have improved the situation. From the registered video, you could tell what it looked like many years ago. You can still recall the old days when you had very strong storm of sand. Yes, indeed. When I was still in primary school, when there's the storm of sand, we could only have a distance of visibility of 10 meters only. The whole sky would be hidden by the storms of sand. How many days are filled with the storm of sand? About 150 days throughout the year. It's a big hit to our daily life for the daily transportation. We were really afraid of that, the strong winds and also the dust and sands. During our interview here, I get to know that people have to repeat the transplantation of the plants of the cotton for 5 or 6 times per year, because when you plant the seeds of the cotton into the field, and then immediately there's the storm of sand, everything would be destroyed, and then you have to repeat the work. Yes, I've also experienced the same thing. For example, in the past, people have just sown in a surface of 500 mu for cotton plantation, but immediately with a storm of sand, people have to redo everything. In many areas to the southern part of the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, we have deployed a lot of efforts to fight against the desertification. And you can tell what is surrounding us is totally different from what we can catch from the previously broadcasted video. We have been working on the fight against the desertification for many years. We have the forest against the desertification. We have also used a grid of grass. We have also built up the economy with the forests so that we can generate not only economic benefits but also ecological ones. You have this whole network to fight against the deserts. To the outskirts, you have very strong barriers. The trees, usually of very big size. For example, like the poplar trees, and next to it, you have the willow trees, and then towards the inside, you would plant some bushes and also develop some cash crops among the trees. So you have this mixture of plantations and vegetation to protect the land. We have multiple dimensions of vegetation. And since we allow people to add up some cash crops among the trees, and people can generate much more income. For example, today we can plant the cash trees. How much can people earn? In this context, it's a revenue of 2,500 RMB per mu. This is a great help for local people. We can offer permanent job opportunities for the people. After the plantation of the trees, we also need people on the site for the daily management of the trees. Before I arrive at the spot, I heard people saying that every day we would have the sand and dusting our food. But nowadays, people have worked so hard to plant the trees. Throughout the year, for 3 out of the 4 seasons, we would be planting trees. In June and July, we would stop the work of tree planting due to the hot weather. And starting by autumn, we will start with the tree planting work. And this will last until winter time. You know that in the deserts we can also find a lot of dunes. If you want to plant the trees, first of all, you have to use the bulldozers to manage the lands, to get plainer lands. We've also recorded some videos, so you can have a basic understanding of the mechanical capability of China, and you can also tell how difficult and how challenging it has been for people to build up the trees. It's no easy job. What is the highest dune? It can reach a height of 18 meters. And here in our area, the highest ones could reach up to a height of 8 meters. We have even measured the highest dunes in our area. The highest one would reach 8.2 meters. And to get rid of the big dunes, how many machineries do you need? It has taken us 6 days with 40+ machineries. So we have a rather flat land here. Now we are standing in a desert. Every small change of this desert is the result of your hard work. And during the management of the dunes, you will not get rid of all the dunes. First of all, for those dunes, carrying the big bushes and trees, for example, the red willow trees as well as the trees of the saxaos, you will keep the dunes. Yes, indeed, when we take care of the dunes, we have to keep the dunes that are in favor of the nature, for example, those carrying the vegetation. But for those moving dunes, we have to get rid of them. For those willow trees, especially to get to this size, it would need a lot of time. For example, up to 5 to 6 years for the willows to get to this size. We can fully understand how difficult it is to keep the trees and the bushes growing in the desert. That's why we should be really careful with the existing ones. We keep those that are already growing in the desert. So it's protection and management going hand in hand. So how can we build up the trees in the desert? It's really no easy job. I have to show the details to you. To dig up a hole, it's already challenging. As you can see, we have really fine sands, and they are moving ones. We can do twice the digging. When we dig up the sands, they are also falling down to get a hole in the sands. It's really challenging. But we also have our secret tools. We have this machinery to create the ditch inside the desert, and then people would just plant the trees inside the ditch. It will make our work much more easier. What about the other difficulties? First of all, the sands, they are moving. And second, moisture is extremely important. Without the water supply, those trees cannot survive. Water supply is also important. How can you ensure the water supply in the desert? We have some waterworks, and we also have selected varieties of trees that are not water-consuming. We have the dripping irrigation system. From afar, we carry the water here. And with the irrigation water, where you combine the fertilizer inside, first of all, we will just give the pure water to nourish the trees. And now you can see you have the drip irrigation with drops of the water going into the sand. How can you guarantee the trees' survival in the desert? We have some chemical product to maintain the water in the land. It will help to keep the moisture to a certain level. Just now we have talked about the water containing problem. Very soon it will get evaporated and it will flee away. And today with the chemical products, what will you do? First of all, as is mentioned before, we will dig up the ditch. And then, while keeping the distance from one to another, we will put the trees inside the holes. So let's do it together. So just now we pour the water inside the hole, and then we have added some water retaining agent, and then I've added some fertilizer, and then you pour inside the extra water to guarantee the water will stay at this level underground. And finally, you get the trees inside the hole. Around the roots of this tree, there would be a covering with water retaining properties around the root part of the trees. After the absorption of the water, this water retaining agent would help to loosen up the sand. And this block of sand will grow up in size. It will take more than a quarter of an hour to get the water retaining agent to work. Now it's working. You will try to smash it, but the water will not get out. Imagine if you squeeze the sponge, the water will go out. But now, if you squeeze the sand after the application of the water retaining agent, water will not be squeezed out. I've also done my homework. For this kind of product of water retaining agents, it's no harm to the environment and it's degradable. So after the application of this agent for water retaining, we will not do any damage to the environment. And it will keep our trees growing in this dry land. And as is mentioned before, we have the drip irrigation system. In the irrigation water, we will add up the potassium as well as the other elements to give extra nutritious supplement to our trees. We can do another experiment. We will add up some more water, and you can see the water has been retained by this layer of the sand thanks to the application of the water retaining agent. What is the ratio of survival of trees here? It is estimated to reach 80%. For the first year, this ratio could be kept at around 60 to 70%. But during the previous years, we have not yet applied the water retaining agent. But starting by the beginning of this year, we have applied on all the sites the water retaining agents. So this year, it is expected to reach this ratio of survival of 80%. So what kind of vegetation would apply in the desert? We will use the populous trees and also the persimmon trees. The persimmon trees, they are resistant to the dry environment as well as the cold environment. We have already experimented on the tree species, and we have selected some out of the list of candidates. We know that in the Ningxia region as well as the other dry areas, people have started the plantation of the cash crops, for example, the trees generating economic benefits, for example, the persimmon trees. For each mu of land, the revenue generated could be around 2.5 thousand RMB. Sometimes you can even get 5,000 RMB out of 1 mu of land. I could also give you an introduction to the local product harvested in the desert area with the protection forests. This is the local tea. We have an area for the growing and plantation of this wild tea plant. And currently, we also have the artificial ones, the planted tea plants by mankind. Even with the artificial incubation of the trees, they can have the same quality as the wild trees. What about these? Is a kind of local mushroom. There are also natural ones. For example, in the fringe area of the Taklimakan Desert, these mushrooms are growing in the wild. This one must be very expensive. For every kilo of this barren mushroom, it can cost between 500 RMB to more than 1,000 RMB. It's already dried up, and you cannot cultivate it artificially. You have to harvest it from the nature because it's very limited in quantity. That's why it's very expensive. And this is a kind of fruit, and also the date. And also the nuts. And for this kind of nuts, it's very easy to crack it open. You can have a try. Even the young kids could easily crack it open. How much does this one cost? From year to year, we can have some fluctuations in the price. For example, this year, the nuts can be sold at a higher price than last year. And what about this one? These are not the red dates. They are the dates from the desert. One of the unique products from the deserts to the southern part of Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. And the pulp is very dry. We say it's as dry as the desert. What about its popularity in the market? Usually in the forest, for the protection against the desertification, we can find these dates of the desert. We have decided to build a lot of sand date trees here. The ratio of survival for this plant is also very high. It's quite resistant to the challenges of nature in this region. We also have the honey products. This is the honey from the plant of the desert date. And I also heard singing a song named The Blossoming of the Flower of the Sand Dates. So not only the bees like this plant, we humans, we also love it. Those are all the treasuries presented by the nature to all of us. We have a total area of 3,000 mu. We also have many dunes here, some higher than the others. We have divided the area for different villages. And for each partial of the desert, a total area around 200 to 300 mu. For each partial of land, we will build different varieties of trees because we are not sure which is the best variety, best adapted to the local soil. So we have to carry out the tests first. For the new species, it's still in the stage of experimentation. We have to first of all get started with the pilot program to have a test on the tree species. In the dry area, we can use this type of vegetation. This one is the persimmon. It's introduced species. Already we have succeeded with the experiments in the greenhouses. Now we're about to move them to the outdoor environment to see whether it will work or not. This is the persimmon. I know the Shanxi province has produced a lot of persimmon, but I've never heard of it for Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. How can we ensure a higher ratio of survival? I will deliver this question to our expert. First of all, you have to have a clever choice of the tree species. You have to study the local land conditions. You have to test the ground, test the soil to see for which part of the land which would be the best choice as the tree species. As is mentioned before, we have to test out at least 6 different varieties of trees here. For each variety, there will be a coverage of 300 to 500 mu. You then have to keep up with the water supply, and you have to build up the grid with the grass. And next step would be the application of science and technology to give extra help to facilitate the survival of the trees. And finally, when the trees survive in the desert, then people can generate more income. So today, people are very much determined to put the trees in the sand. If the nature is not helping us, then we will find extra help from elsewhere. Those trees, before getting planted in the sand, they look very tall, but once planted in the sand, they look smaller. Let me take an example. As is mentioned before, we have a high level of mechanization. We use the machineries to dig up the ditch. And we have also talked about the selection of tree varieties. We will not use small trees. The saplings of the trees, we have to plant the trees at least with an age of 2 years, then in that case they have very well developed system of roots. After 1 year of growth in the desert, it's not important to measure the length of their growth. The most important part is about the root growing. You will also control the height of the sapling, and we will also use the plastic tube to protect it. We also use the paint on the top of the sapling. After the cutting, if you don't seal up the top of the sapling, then the water would be evaporating from that hole. So we have to use the paint to cover it up, to seal up the exit for the water. It will be a height of 90 centimeters, and we will cut all the extra branches, so nutrition as well as the water would only be delivered to the root system. What about the plastic tube to protect it? Because in nature, sometimes wild animals would come to have a bite on the tree trunks. Usually this protective sockets of plastic would be 40 centimeters. That is the result after the estimation and calculation. We believe that usually if we put up a socket of 40 centimeters, it will protect the trunk of the tree from the biting of the rabbits. Today, what about the size of the wildlife here? We have a bigger group of wildlife to both sides of the deserts. We have the farmlands of local people. In the past, it was quite rare for people to discover wild animals, but nowadays, in the cotton fields, sometimes the seeds buried underground would be digged out by the wild chickens as well as the wild rabbits. These plastic protective sockets are really useful. What about the other tips or anecdotes about tree planting in the desert? During the plantation, we have to follow the guideline for the drip irrigation. Now we can still see the water drops coming out of the small hole with the cable. And we have the water exit hole per tree, and you can also readjust the volume of the water drops. Because water is a very precious resource here in the desert, we have applied the drip irrigation system. We don't want to waste even a drop of water. Now we have used the machineries to manage all the landscape. Now we still have a yellowish environment, but starting from next year, we can expect to see green lands. Currently, we have the samplings of 90 centimeters. But next year, you can expect to see the trees reaching to a height of 150 centimeters or even 200 centimeters if you have sufficient water and nutrition supply. You have to make sure that those trees growing in the desert can reach to a certain height. It should be an appropriate height. If it's too small, then it cannot prevent the extension of the desert. If it is too high, then it's also not suitable in this environment. And what is the current results with the greening project? Currently, we have already accomplished the task for the border locking of more than 3,000 kilometers around the Taklimakan Desert. And we have planted on a surface of 27,000 mu of land. During the process of plantation, we have combined the protection of ecological system with the improvement of people's livelihoods. We have formed a synergy of different aspects. For example, when we manage land, we have kept those dunes with the existing vegetation. During the selection of the tree species, we have also considered both ecological and economic effects. What about people's livelihood? In the past, when in difficulty, people would cut some trees for economic returns, but nowadays it's totally different. Every month, they can have a salary of 3,500 RMB. They have totally changed the mindset. They understand that trees are helping to improve the environment. It's a good news for their own generation as well as for their offsprings. Once people understand the benefits brought by a better environment, they will be voluntarily contributing to the protection of this ecosystem. Now, it has already become a deep-rooted belief among the people that we really have to work hard to protect the environment. When protecting the ecosystem, when applying the greening project, people can have extra sources of income. For example, they can have a salary as the worker employed by the greening project. They can also have more income thanks to the plantation of cash crops. This is also the beneficial outcomes from the greening project. We have planted the trees on the borderlines of these deserts. We have encountered so many difficulties. First of all, the management of the dunes, especially for the big ones. And second, to do the transplantation is no easy job. We have to prepare all the facilities like the machineries for the ditch and the tree transplantation, the drip system for irrigation. And after the transplantation of the trees, you also have to keep an eye on the growing of the trees with the following up project for a duration of 2 to 3 years. In total, it will take up like 5 years to guarantee the survival of the trees in the desert. And we always have to bear in mind the ecological and economic benefits. Without the economic stimulus, people will not stick to the project, and it can not make sure that the project can be run in the long term and have sustainable development. Currently, we have also built up the industries for economic benefits and for job opportunities creation and for the improvement of livelihood for people. When we have a better environment, people can build up economic forests that can not only help to consolidate our efforts for the fight against desertification, but also have more income. According to the statistics, the surface of plants to generate economic benefits has already reached the number of 10 million mu, with a total potential economic income of 3 million RMB. What about the next step of development? Last year, we have completed the border locking on the deserts, but that doesn't mean the end of our work. For the upcoming 15th five-year plan period, we have already elaborated continuous program for the ecological management for at least 5 to 10 years. And for the county of Bachu, we have divided our county area into different zones. We're about to deal with another 5 million mu of land. We will continue to build up one network of the protective forest. We will carry out restoration of protective trees and forests, the plantation of new trees, as well as the restoration of existing forest belts would go hand in hand. We have also the ecological management belts by the border of the Taklimakan Desert. We are now here. Not very far from our spot, we have the highway. Yes, we are now standing by the highway. And this is a highway running by the side of the borderline of the Taklimakan Desert. From this picture, you can see we have the water basin area. We have protective measures in place to fight against the extension of the deserts coming from this direction. And then we also have another layer of protective forest stopping the moving of the desert coming from the northwestern part. We have 3 belts of protection. First of all, we have to lock the further moving of the Taklimakan deserts. We have the populous forests, and in spring season, we have the Siberian winds coming from the northwestern direction. And we have 27 entrances of the winds. For example, now we are standing at one of the wind entrance spots. With the strong winds, there would be moving sands and dunes. We have also here a surface of 4 million mu of farmland. With the moving dunes and moving deserts, it will create high risk for our farmland. We have to stick to the protection of the highway. Especially, it's crucial to stop the further moving of the deserts. Otherwise, the highway would be fully buried down by the sands. We are extending the forest area to fight against desertification. We are very close to the highway. Every time when there's the storm of sand, the sand would be flowing onto the surface of the road, blocking the traffic, and sometimes even causing the traffic jam. It's a big risk to the security of driving, and that's why we have considered area along the road, along the highway, a top priority. What about the 5 zones? According to the planification, starting by the north, we have a zone for the photovoltaic development. We have already managed the surface of more than 300,000 mu. We have also planned another 195,000 mu. We will generate the vegetation area as well as the photovoltaic electricity production area. The second zone is for the restoration of ecosystem for the grassland. This is a natural grassland area. In recent years, due to the reducing melting water from the snowy mountains, we have noticed this problem of degradation of the grassland. And here we have a lot of populous trees. And finally, with the river area, it's a zone for the protection of water and soil to prevent the water and soil erosion problem. Once completed, then our whole area of Bachu County is very well protected. Because we are located amid the deserts, if we can accomplish the development of one network, 3 belts, and 5 zones, we can guarantee the normal livelihood for the people living in the county, and we will put an end to the sufferings brought by the sandstorms that we have experienced in the past. And thanks to these plans for the next few years' development, we have more confidence on the development of our Bachu County. We have also noticed developments over the past years. In the Taklimakan Desert, 21 counties and towns have already demonstrated fast-speed development. Starting by the 28th of November 2024, we have completed the border locking of the Taklimakan Desert. Until now, we have added another 27,000 mu of forest, and for all the 21 counties, there is 3.6 million mu of newly planted land. And we have extended the coverage of the forest into the Taklimakan Desert. We really would like to show our respect and appreciation to the workers here on the site in the desert area. And of course, we have to say thank you to the contribution of the people mobilized and participating in this project. We have to say thank you to the scientists for their discoveries and their contribution. We have to say thank you to our government for the big support. We believe that with the synergy of the whole society, we can have a very bright future. So that is all for today's program. Thank you.